Welcome to Sinagra, Western Australia. Behind me is the Manhattan Platinum. It is a 4x2 with a theatre and a study. We have 290 square metres of home on a 450 square metre block. Let's head inside and take a look. Welcome to another walkthrough video, guys. If you've been following the channel, you'll know that these walkthrough videos are a tool to help you on your new home building journey. It gives you the time and space to really digest these floor plans. If you want to wait till the end, I'm going to talk about the pricing information to do with this display home and other variations of it. But for now, let's head on outside and start from the front facade. All right, so starting with the front facade, the first things that you may notice is that you can't actually see the gutters on the front section of the home. So that's called a parapet wall. So the wall is actually projecting up and we've got box gutters sitting behind that wall. So this is a really modern looking front facade. We've got our T-bar on the garage and then we've all got that rendered brickwork above the main bedrooms as well. It's a really simple yet elegant design. We've got a steel post instead of a rendered pier, and we've also got corner windows to both this front room and the external second room as well. The thing that I really like about this design is we have that stepped kind of planter box out the front of both of the rooms. So a reason why I like that is I feel like it kind of protects the home. It makes it feel like it's not so approachable, I suppose. I don't know why I feel that way, but I think that I think it is a nice look, and obviously having plants there as well always spruces up the front facade. Other than that, it's actually quite simple. We've got a bit of projecting brickwork on the right-hand side there, and we've just got, you know, a really clean looking front facade. It is really expensive to build out this front elevation the way that you see it here, but there are lots of different ways we can achieve a similar look without spending as many dollars. Basically, this is what I was talking about. So we've got all this brickwork here sitting in front of the window, and then we've got the really low profile planter box that's jutting right out in front of the rooms as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan of planter boxes. I don't like gardening. My wife does all the gardening, so as much as I do like the look, I probably won't be doing any of the maintenance work that goes with it. But if you have someone like that that can do it for you, I think that's the best case scenario. You can get the look without the work. Let's head on inside. We've just stepped inside the home and we've got our front door, the Delavita 1200mm door, which we've spoken about in a fair bit of detail. This passageway is approximately 1450 wide. This is going to be the garage, so it's a display home. This will get closed in eventually, but it's a really nice open passageway. And what I really love about this entry feature is that it's private, right? So when you come to the door, or if you've got someone at the door and you've got the clear glass still, when you look in, you can't really see anything. So as we walk through, we've got our feature recess. So all this is a bulkhead at 31 course and a bit of brickwork either side. We don't have anything underneath. And then this has been cladded and a cabinet's been put in. So a really nice feature, easy to achieve, not expensive at all. And then we have our study on this side, and then this leads to the rest of the home. Now, it's really important to note that we have a different version of this floor plan called the St. Louis, or St. Louis, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It is almost identical to the Manhattan, but it doesn't have a study. Instead, it has a workshop in the garage. So if you are wanting a little bit more space in your garage for a storeroom or a workshop, have a look at that design. One thing you're going to note about this floor plan is it is amazing in making changes and customizing it to suit your needs. But if we head on through to the study, it's about 2.4 meters wide by 3.6 meters deep, and it is a perfect size study. You would definitely not need it to be any bigger than this. I have actually converted this study into a small minor bedroom before for a bigger family. I've actually done many variations of this floor plan, from 4x3s, master bedrooms at the front, theaters at the front. Yeah, you name it, I've done it. I used to actually work out of this display home, so I know a lot about it. But yeah, I love this display and I can't wait to take you through the whole thing. But other than that, nothing too fancy going on. It's just a study with a door. One thing to keep in mind when you're looking at your floor plans and you're thinking about, should I have a door on the study or should I not? Something important to note is, yeah, you can put a door on and it is going to, block out the sound. But in a lot of floor plans, the window from the study is actually allowing light to spill into your foyer or your passageway. So don't be, be open-minded with having the study without a door on it. Our minor bedrooms at the front. So with the Manhattan, we've got all of the minor bedrooms at the front of the home. We have the master bedroom at the back, and we've got the theater towards the family dining. So we'll start with the minor bedrooms. Coming through here, the first thing I want to point out is if you come around to this side, you'll see that we've got a bit of extra brickwork here. So you might need to step back a bit just to show this. So this is actually not on your standard floor plan, this tiny bit of brickwork here. And it's really important because as you come in through the passageway, if you don't add this on, and this is about 250 mil of additional brickwork, you're going to basically be seeing the door frame as you walk through. So imagine if this is someone's bedroom and they've got the door closed, it's in full view for people that are passing through. In addition to that, we've now got a nice spot to put a light switch. So these bits of additional brickwork is really important to note. And if you're a first home builder, you're not going to really see this, or you're not going to notice it at all. But yeah, start paying attention to the differences between display floor plans and standard floor plans, because a lot of that brickwork is missing. Through here, we have our first minor bedroom. It's a really big, decent size. And they've done something really smart with this one. And props to Home Group. I believe this is one of the best designed homes out there, out of all the project builders, and it is definitely one of my favorites. So we have our robe here, and you'll notice that it's not sticking out into the room. And the reason for that is this bit of wall. On the other side, we actually have the minor bathroom's shower recess. So they've really designed this in a super smart way. We've got nice, neat, flat lines, and also we're not wasting any space at all. Really, really good, decent sized bedroom. It's about 4 meters by 3 meters. So it's as big as you would need for something like this. We've got our minor bathroom on this side. And the first thing you're going to see is that shower recess. So come on through. So we've got our shower recess on this side, and it is huge. This is a massive minor shower. And we've got our Kit Kat tiles as a feature on one side, and then we've got our grate drain. Now it's really important to note, if you are building with Home Group, your standard floor tiles are 300 by 300 mil, and you can upgrade this, right? You can upgrade it to either 450 by 450, which is really cost effective to do, or you can go one step up and go to 600 by 600s. However, if you do that, you need to accommodate for the grate drain, okay? So the shower recess will need to have a grate drain, and that in itself is expensive. So just keep that in mind. Your building consultant should tell you that. In this room, we've got our Kit Kat tiling on one feature wall, and all the other walls are tiled white, again, which is very smart. If we had more than one wall black, it's gonna feel really closed in, and you really don't wanna do that. So we've got a nice ash gray floor tile, white wall tiles for 3, and then black Kit Kat tiles on our feature wall. The bathtub is standard, and then we've got the luxury single vanity over here. Great room. The only thing I'd probably leave out is the shadow line. So that negative detail is really expensive. It looks amazing, but I probably would leave it out of a minor bathroom. Let's come on through onto the opposing side. We've got a powder room. So with a full-size vanity, our toilets here, and again, we have our Kit Kat tiling on a feature wall. So in your standard floor plans, if it is a designer plus, you won't get a vanity at all. And in the luxury, you get a wall hung basin. Now you can upgrade this, but it's not even about the cost. The cost isn't that great to go to a full-size vanity, it's just the space. There are a lot of things in this home that take up a lot of space, especially in the wet areas, so you just need to be mindful of that. If you're happy to move the WC into the bathroom, this can double up as a storeroom as well. So if you're wanting more storage space, I'd move the toilet into the bathroom, and yeah, this can become a really big walk-in linen. Towards the front, we have our two minor bedrooms, and there's nothing crazy going on here. We've got standard size minor bedrooms. They're about 2.8 meters by 3.8. I do have a lot of families that come and see this display home and they walk in and walk out and they think, oh, I don't want to have my kids at the front of the house, which is totally understandable. It's really big, I think, in Perth, especially if you've got young kids, that the parents want to be at the front of the home or the center of the home and not have the minor bedrooms at the front. Totally understand that. Keep in mind, you can change this configuration. You can have the master bedroom configured at the front of the house if you like the rest of it. But other than that, I think it is a beautiful layout. All right, we have the main passageway leading from our entry straight into our main living dining areas. This passageway may be boring without what they've done to it. So we've got our cladding here. Our widths, we're at about 1.2 meters here and about 1.3 meters here. I think a really important thing to note is if you are passing by a stranger and you both had to, pass by each other in the same corridor, it should be wide enough so that you're comfortable. It's a weird way to gauge it, but this is, I think, the perfect size for this home. You wouldn't want it any narrower because the passageway isn't very short. So 1.2 to 1.3 meters is what I'd say the minimum on a 15 meter wide lot. What we have going on is we've got this additional bit of brickwork on this side and then the bulkhead traveling across the top, which allows us to put this beautiful timber cladding on this wall. So it finishes up against this bit of brickwork on this side and we finish up against the bit of brickwork on this side. Now, something to note, this luxury floor plan on this home on the Manhattan doesn't have this brickwork here at all. And that's really important because normally in the luxury floor plan, you would walk through and you would see just the kitchen. But what they've done here, again, very smart and very elegant, is this additional bit of brickwork ends the bulkhead that now carries across our scullery passageway. So normally we would just have a brick lintel that is sitting here, or you'd have a door, a 25-course door like they do in the Prescott in Jindalee. But here we've kept it nice and open and it flows beautifully because we have a bulkhead instead of a brick lintel passing through into the scullery area. This is one of my favorite small design improvements that they've done to the Platinum version, which I try to implement on every single Manhattan I do because it's not, very costly and it makes such a big impact to the overall feel of this space. So just to reiterate, we've got all of this brickwork that you see here. This wouldn't exist unless you add it in. And then we've just taken the bulkhead that already comes included and made it a little bit longer to finish across here. Sometimes you'll still have the lintel sitting here. We want to get rid of that if we've got the same ceiling setups that we do in this room. So we've got 34-course ceilings to the entry, passageway, family dining, and we've got 31-course as our minimum everywhere else. This drop ceiling is sitting at 31-course. It's got a light trough and it has a recess up back to 34 as well. This bulkhead actually comes across and protrudes out away from our drop ceiling. So this is actually not something that you'll see very often, but I think it looks quite nice. When I first looked at it, I wasn't too sure whether or not I liked it, but it's kind of grown on me. And then as you look across the room, we've got our TV recess. So that's about 2.4 meters wide. It doesn't have a plinth on the bottom. So there's no brickwork on the bottom, it's just a cabinet. And that bulkhead is actually sitting at 28. So there's nothing wrong with a bulkhead here sitting at 31, but if you want, your windows and your bulkhead to line up the way that it has, we can drop it down to 28. I've configured it both ways before. It's just a bit of it's just a preference. If you want a bit more of a bigger looking TV recess, you can have that bulkhead sitting higher. But here they've just had it all line up. We've got our luxury Della Vita corner kitchen, which I think works perfectly on this side. Window between the TV recess, and then I'm going to talk to you guys about the window configurations and the stacker door in a minute, but we'll head on through to the scullery and laundry, and we'll finish up there first. So we have our scullery here, and then we've got our laundry here. This is a standard scullery that you would receive in the luxury. One thing that you'll need to know is if you upgrade your ceiling heights in your home to 31 throughout, or what they've done here, is you're gonna need to pay for a bulkhead now because you're gonna have a gap between your cabinet and your ceiling. This, again, is a small detail which I think looks brilliant. They've extended the bulkhead out so that when this bulkhead and this one meet, it's all squared off. So this is such a small thing to kind of point out, and you're not going to really notice it too much because all that bulkhead is going to be a dotted line. You're going to confuse that dotted line with the dotted lines of these overhead cabinets. So what we want to do is we really want to make sure that that dotted line is sitting in line with the bench top, right? And in line with this bit of brickwork. If it's sitting just in front of this cabinet, so normally it would sit right here, it's not going to have the same effect. So again, something to discuss with your building consultant when you're going through this. Here, they've gone one step extra with the detail, and they've created a corner style bulkhead. This is expensive to do. I don't really put it into my Manhattan designs. I just have it finished straight across on this side. And we've also got some extra pantry shelves here. So if you're wanting to give some more space into your study, perhaps put in a robe with sliders, we can get rid of this space and we can actually use it to create a bit of extra space in the study if you want to. In the standard plan, the laundry door isn't situated here. Come on through, Maddie. The laundry door is actually situated on this wall, and this is actually an open kind of pantry, which I don't think makes a lot of sense. I love what they've done in this display home, and that is to move our laundry door from here to here, and now this becomes extra linen space. With the bulkhead again, you can see that it's been extended across so that it finishes nice and flush with our wall. Again, if you are upgrading your ceiling heights to 31 throughout and you have your 28 course door frames, please get your consultant to also increase your robe sliders to 28 and your sliding door, if possible, if it is within budget, have your sliding door in your laundry upgraded to 28 as well, so that everything matches up nice and beautifully. Of course, we're always having to talk about budget because, you know, these things all cost money, but at least be aware of them and know that it is an option there if you want everything looking perfect and you have the budget. So this part of the home, the way the kitchen faces the family and dining and the alfresco, is what gives it its wow factor. When it was under construction, I actually walked through this display home while I was working somewhere else, and I asked my manager, I said, I have to work out of this display home because I love the layout so much. It is basically a small version of the St. Andrews, the Prescott, the Lakewood. These homes that really give you that wow feeling, those homes are built on a 17-meter wide lot. And they've really emulated that same feeling on this 15-meter wide block. And I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite designs on a 15 done by Home Group. The way that it makes you feel coming through that passageway, nice and open, and having that wall-to-wall glass is something that is quite unique to this home. So one thing you're going to notice in a lot of these designs where it's configured in this way is we normally have some brickwork over here on this side, on the left-hand side, and that's because we normally have a bedroom that is situated on that side of the home. We don't have that here, so we're able to have that really big, grand, open feeling. And yeah, personally, I'm such a huge fan of this design. It looks and feels so good. If you haven't had a chance to walk through it, I highly recommend it. I want to talk about the windows. So what this makes this area special is how open it feels. So it feels very similar to a rear living design where you have, all of your bedrooms coming off a corridor and then you'd have your backyard kind of wall to wall. This has a really similar feel because we don't have any brickwork stopping light from coming in. And that's because we have the master bedroom at the back. So what we have here is we've got a massive stacker door, which we'll go through in a second. And then we have a structural column here, no brickwork again. We have a commercial window frame here, and then we've got an awning window here. So there's no brickwork at all. To achieve this look is very expensive. If you have the budget to do it, I highly recommend it because this is definitely a hero, I guess, a hero item in the house. But you can try to maximize the glass by putting perhaps a 4.8 meter double sliding door joining to an awning window. We can emulate it without spending as much money, but this is definitely what gives the home its wow factor. Besides this bit of glass, we've got a matching awning window on the other side of the TV recess. Now, something to note, if you are wanting to add a bit more luxury, a bit more detail into your family living space, try to change your window setups from sliders to awnings. I'm going to show you what I mean. So normally, okay, with the awning window, we've got a little, wind out thing like this, and it opens like an awning. The reason why it looks nicer than a slider is because we don't have that transom running down the middle. So we've got more uninterrupted glass. So it is a little bit more expensive. However, I believe it's a better finish for family dining. It also seals better than a slider and it looks better. So yeah, the family room's somewhere I would recommend changing that. Another thing to note is this is a 28 course window. So talking about windows, you can see that it goes all the way to the floor. This isn't the only way you can configure this window. We can actually have this as a 25 course window and have the head height sit at 28 to have the same effect. And what that will allow us to do is it'll mean that we can actually continue on the skirting board and have it meet on the other side. So see here, it abruptly ends at the window frame. If you did want that to finish more flush and you didn't want the glass frame sitting on the floor, we can have it sit a little bit higher. And the benefit of that is you're not now paying for a bigger window frame. So the standard frames included in the home group plans for these areas are 25 course. So shifting them up by 3 courses doesn't cost you anything. So another bonus there. I'll show you an example of this when we get to the theater room because that's exactly what they've done there. They've had the 25 course window sit slightly higher. So with that being said, let's head on to the theater room. The first thing you're going to notice are these beautiful barn doors. All right, so these barn doors, they are something you're going to want to install after handover. In order to achieve this look, we need to know our measurements from the start. So this opening here is about 1800 millimeters wide, and each barn door is 1000 millimeters wide. So that way, when we are closing them, they're big enough to close the entire space. The other thing to note is if this was in a passageway like so, like over here, we would need to make sure we accommodate for this additional thickness in that passageway. So if you're on a tighter block and you're planning on adding a barn door afterwards, please make sure that the width of your passageway is going to accommodate this because this sticks out a fair bit. The only other thing that I would really pay attention to with these doors is they only come in set sizes. So they come in, I think maximum I've seen that you can find quite easily is 1200 mil wide. So you need to make sure that whatever opening that you have can be shut by at least 2 1200s. Not only that, you need to make sure there's enough space on each side of the opening to have the door completely open. So that's something that I've seen people miss with other designers before, is they're planning to have barn doors on either side, but if you imagine if we didn't have this much brickwork here, we actually wouldn't be able to open it. But coming through to the theater room, I'll first talk to you about the window. You can see here, right, we've got the window sitting at the head height of 28 and it's sitting 3 courses off the floor, which means that our skirting board can now finish nicely across the whole room. I think that this is a really beautiful way to configure rooms because it just feels really cozy. You know, you kind of feel a little bit more secure inside the room, not having glass all the way to the floor, but everyone's different. I've configured it both ways many times before. We have our TV recess here. So again, we've got maybe a 400mm deep TV recess with the bulkhead over the top, bit of brickwork either side and no plinth. So this is just a cabinet and this works really well. When I first actually moved into this display a couple of years ago, and I thought, wow, if you come here, Matt, and you look to where the family room is, right? So this was probably the one thing that I didn't like about this display home was how close the theater room was to the family room. Because when you close these doors, I wasn't sure on how insulating they would be with the sound. So the first thing I did was I actually turned the TV on and I cranked the volume, closed the doors, and I stood outside. And I was really surprised that it insulated the sound really well. After that, when I started having families talk to me about why they love their design, this design especially, was because they could be in the kitchen and have the kids in the theater room and keep a watchful eye over them. And that's been, I think, a huge benefit of this layout for families that have young children. A lot of the time they're wanting an activity area that is within eyeshot, and this design actually delivers on that. So even though it's not something that I personally liked, there are many families out there that prefer this. As you know, if you've been watching the channel, my preference is having the theater room at the front of the home, or at least coming off a corridor near the front. But yeah, this works well. Not my favorite, but it makes sense in this particular design. So what we have here is we have another barn door. Same size, so it's 1000mm wide. All right, we're only needing a single here. And what we've got is we've got a small kind of landing / drop zone into our entry into bed one. So this is something that is really important for homes like this because this is our main living area. And then we have our master bedroom at the back of the home here, which is 100% okay. I actually love that about this home. But you wouldn't want your doorway coming off a main living area. You want to try and hide it away as much as you can. And this is a really good way to do it. We can also utilize this space for a mirror. So as you know, when you look at a 2D floor plan, you might think, oh, it's a waste of space. You know, this could be used for something else. But when you're designing a home like this one, not everything is about maximizing the square meters that you're building. A lot of the time, it's important to give space to create an effect, to create a feeling. You're gonna live in this home at the end of the day. Yes, you want best dollar value, but if you're building something like this, you obviously have great taste and you've liked a certain feel, and these are the elements within the home that create that feeling. Let's head on through to the master bedroom. This is the space in the house that again gives everyone that wow factor. It's got a few elements that are very unique to this display. The first thing is where you are and where Maddie is right now, you're standing in the walk-in robe. And this walk-in robe is a huge classic favorite because we have dual access ways behind the bed. So we've got our bed here and you can enter your walk-in robe from both sides. This isn't standard. In the standard plan, this is bricked up and you've only got one entryway into the robe. And the reason for that is the design is actually a little bit narrower. For the platinum plan, they have pushed this wall underneath the eaves, and they've done so for the ensuite as well. Adding this area is an additional cost, but again, if you want to achieve this feel, this look, you're going to need to do that. So make sure you're paying attention to the widths, the entry points of the robe when you're designing off a display home, because walls can shift. As you come through, something they've done, again, I'm a really big fan of, if you want to meet me on the other side, is this would normally be just a single leaf of brickwork, but they've added an additional leaf of brickwork on this side and on this side. So this does two things. One, it makes the wall look thicker and more premium, and also it creates a nice little recess for our mirror. talking about something other than design, robe fit outs. If you're not planning on just having a standard shelf and rail or doing an IKEA pack system, and you're potentially considering getting a cabinet maker in, there is a huge wait time for cabinet makers at the moment. So I would really contact someone very, very far in advance, because yeah, they are very busy. A friend of mine, I asked him, I said, I've got a lot of clients wanting robe fit outs done at the moment. Can I pass your details on? He actually didn't reply to me straight away because he was so busy. And I think that gave me his answer, but he actually said he's booked out for the next 2 years, and he said no. You know, so that's how busy these guys are. Go ahead and get a quote for a fit out from the builder. But yeah, if you are planning on a custom fit out, start getting organized early. We have this beautiful feature opening in front of the bathtub. So again, leading into the ensuite, we've got a double leaf wall here and then a feature opening here. It looks very nice. If it were my bathroom, I definitely wouldn't configure it this way, because I'm in the camp of wanting to close off the ensuite from where anyone is sleeping. Again, my wife and I are up at different times all the time, so it would be quite annoying if someone's asleep and the other person is trying to get ready for the day. So yeah, we can have it open like this if you really like it, but you don't have to. Coming through, this configuration is nothing like it is in the standard plan. There's absolutely nothing standard in here, okay? It's been completely reconfigured. It's been given more area by going underneath the eaves. And we have our WC tucked behind the double vanity and a double walk-in shower on this side. This ensuite is actually very, very wasteful in terms of the way that it uses space, because it is so long. And you'll notice when we go outside and we talk about the Alfresco and the backyard space, you're going to see exactly what I mean. It pushes the back of the home so far back that it completely closes off the backyard. Now, again, like I said before, not a very functional use of space, but it's been done to give you that wow factor. You can't have both all the time. And it is that use of space and the way that it's been configured that gives you that feeling, but it's not efficient. So you can't really have it both ways all the time. So just keep that in mind. This is a double leaf brick wall. Okay, so we've got a feature double leaf brick wall with our KitKat tiling. This gives us the ability to have an insert like this. So we've got a little lintel sitting there and a nice little feature, bit of cabinet work there. We've got a double Della Vita luxury vanity. And then here we've got, again, a double leaf nib wall. Both the mixer taps are on here, and then we've got two dual combo shower heads. Coming through to the back, we've got our WC tucked behind the vanity. So I really like how private the WC is. It's very far away from where anyone's sleeping. I like where the double showers are. In the St. Louis, so I guess the sister version of this design, the shower is actually configured behind the vanity. And I love that look because it makes the shower so luxurious, so big. I think I actually prefer it to be configured that way. I've done that configuration for someone before and it was very impressive, especially if you're gonna go with dual shower heads. And one thing to note, when you have, imagine if this was a shower recess, guys. So come on through, Matt. If this was a shower recess and not a WC, what makes this shower recess look even bigger is the entry point. So if you imagine we enter the shower from here, so the shower heads are gonna be on that side, it's gonna make the shower feel really, really deep. But if we had the same dimensions on the shower recess, but our entry point was here because of the configuration of the ensuite, you might only be able to access the shower from here because you might have a wall here, that's going to make the shower feel a lot smaller. So the way to kind of negate that feeling is by adding a door onto your shower recess. If you have the funds to do so, you might even add a lintel over the top. But even, now what I'm trying to explain is even the way that you enter a shower recess is going to change the way that it feels. So it's important to not just pay attention to the dimensions. It just doesn't end there. All right, I think that wraps it up for our ensuite. we'll have a quick look in the Alfresco. So let's head on outside. So we're out in the Alfresco, as you can see. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the stacker door. So the stacker door, meaning that we've got multiple panels of moving glass. So if this door opened like here to here, and that's it, that would be called the double slider, which is something that I try and incorporate a lot, because then you have 4 panels of glass and you're not spending heaps of money on the stacker door. If you do have the budget and you want to go one step further, then you would have, you know, the stacker. Again, it's all depending on your budget, what you want to do. So this opens up the whole way, and if you're entertaining or you really wanted to, you know, flex on your new home with your friends, I guess the stacker door can help with that. And then on this side, you'll see we've got our structural column here, so we don't have any brickwork. And then this bit of glass and this bit of glass is just a fixed pane of glass. There's nothing running across, nothing running vertically down. It's one fixed pane of glass. Now this is expensive to do it this way. You don't have to, but if you are trying to do this on a budget, I would suggest having a bit of brickwork here and then maybe one big awning on this side. However, it does look beautiful. Like, this home is absolutely stunning, one of my favorites, and this is a big part of why it looks so good. And then there is a corner structural column here with a window on that side too. So that's the first thing. I feel like it's not just about the Alfresco, but when you walk in and you've got the curtains open and you can see outside, absolutely amazing. It's, I think, one of the most underrated designs that Home Group have. The other thing we're going to talk about is this sliding door. So this actually leads into the master bedroom. In the standard floor plan, you'd have a 25-course sliding door. This has obviously been upgraded to a 28 to match everything else. And then you'd have a window on the other side. Now, when we were in there, you may not have seen a window because remember, we moved our walls out to under the eaves. So now we're only 1,000 millimeters off the boundary, meaning we can't have a full height window there anyway. So our options are to either have a highlight window or no window at all. The designers of this home opted to not have a window. Talking back about the Alfresco, it's a recessed plasterboard ceiling up to 34 course, and we've got render the whole way around. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about, Maddie. If you can just shoot the very little space that we have out the back. This is all because of that ensuite configuration. If the ensuite was configured the way that it is in the standard luxury or designer plus plan, you'd have a lot more backyard space. But because it's so long, we now don't have a backyard area behind the master bedroom. And this shot is actually really a good time to talk about your outdoor units for your air conditioning. You really want to make sure that when those guys send you your plans, whether they're from Ford and Doonan or Ambience Air or wherever it is, try to ensure that your outdoor units are not situated on the passageway of your home. So some of you might have dual passageways either side. Some of you might have access only from one side of your home. Make sure that your aircon units aren't situated there, otherwise you're going to have a real big problem trying to get through. Unfortunately, not everyone pays attention to that, even the people that are installing your air conditioners. So it's up to you to check your plans. And if you're not sure, again, ask your building consultant for help before signing off on anything, because it will come back down to your signature at the end of the day. That's it. So you can see here, even looking inside the home, it's amazing. I love how it's been configured. A lot of the time I do get asked if we can actually extend this Alfresco further. So you'll see that this pier is sitting here. And in some cases, depending on the block size, depending on the R codes, you could potentially extend it out to here. Now, the reason why it hasn't been done on this home, you know, because it seems a bit odd, like why end it here? Why not just continue it on? It's because of the outdoor living area requirements. We're on an RMD zone block at the moment, so we do need to have some uncovered space out here. So make sure you talk to your building consultant about the extent of your Alfresco and how that's going to be impacted by your R codes. That's the only reason why this hasn't been extended out a little bit further. If you've got a bigger block or your coverage isn't as big due to an ensuite, then potentially you can increase the Alfresco size. I think that covers it for the Alfresco. Let's head on inside. We're going to talk about my most favorite items in this home and also the least favorite, and then I'll talk to you guys about pricing. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the way that this home makes you feel as you enter the main living areas from the entry passageway. The configuration of the kitchen, family dining, overlooking a fully open alfresco. This feeling is amazing, absolutely stunning layout, and that's why it's the #1 on my favorites list. My second favorite element in this home is the master bedroom configuration. I love the robe at the back of the room behind the bed and where the ensuite is. I just think that this whole space, again, the configuration is spot on. The one thing I will note is that having that open robe behind the bed can create arguments at times because it's one space. If you want to divide it into two, you can. My third favorite part about this home is actually the study. It's not because I love the study room. There's actually nothing very interesting going on here, but it's purely because of how versatile this space is. If you want to give more space to your garage, you can. If you want to turn it into a bedroom, you can. If you want to have more scullery or laundry, you can. It is such a smart way to design a home, and that's why this study space is my third final point that is on my favorites list. Now down to my least favorite things in this home, and to be honest, it's actually really hard for me to come up with something, but because we're making a list, I will try my best. The first thing I guess I can talk about is this recess feature in the drop ceiling. I personally think it's a little bit excessive, like you've gone too wow with the home. It's not necessary and it is expensive, but again, I'm really having to find some negatives to talk about. So the recess feature in the drop ceiling is my point #1. Point #2 for my least favorite, I guess, is the actual location of the theater. Again, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I'm just having to be really picky now. The negative point was that it is really close to our main family living areas, but as highlighted by so many families I've met, this is an actual draw point, so it's something that they want. I'm not even going to bother with point #3. I think this house absolutely kills it with the design. There's not much to not like about it, unless it's a personal preference, so I'm not even going to try and get a third point out there. Let's head on over to the desk to talk about pricing. So we're in the middle of August in 2025. The current price for the Designer Plus model of the Manhattan is $403,000. For the luxury spec, you'd be spending $442,000. And of course, if you're wanting to build something like the display home, you'd be looking around the $640,000 mark if you were to build it like for like, cabinetry, exposed aggregate, front elevation. You absolutely do not need to spend that amount of money to emulate this feel, this style of home. But if you wanted to get really close to the display spec, without going too crazy, if you're taking on board some of my suggestions, you'll be spending in the low 500s. So anywhere from, I'd say, 510 to 530 to build a home to this level, which I think is an amazing value for money. And like I've said before, I think that this is one of the best designed homes out there. So if you haven't had a chance to walk through this design yet, I highly recommend it. Unfortunately, it is closed a lot of the time because a new display home has opened in Sinagra in the Ilyari estate. So if you are wanting to come and see it, shoot me a message before you make the drive down here and I'll check to see if it is actually open for you. Otherwise, feel free to get in touch with Home Group directly and they will be able to help you out. Just quickly, guys, if you have walked through the St. Andrews, the Prescott, or the Lakewood, and you really like that home, the way that it felt, you're gonna like this one. And again, this is for a smaller block. So if you haven't had a chance to look at this plan yet, make sure you get down to Sinagra and have a walk through. I want to talk about the windows, right? Can I open them? Okay. All right, so I just asked Maddie if I can open the windows and he said no. I'm gonna open this window even though Maddie said not to. I'm not gonna open the whole thing because I don't want Maddie to get upset with me. And we're gonna talk about what's happening here, and we can also talk about all of our sliding doors now that Maddie's happy that he's outside because of the lighting.